Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Einav Avni, and I am an alignment coach and energy healer. I use the emotion code, body code, and belief codes to help people suffering from chronic pain, chronic illnesses, or unexplained medical conditions. This podcast, the Healing Conversations for Anything Chronic, is here to help spread the word and the message that there is an alternative way of healing, natural way of healing, come here, listen, get the message, get what you need from it, and help spread the word even. So today in the studio, Farita Khambatta. Farita, welcome. So lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's get started and tell us something about you.
Right. Where do we begin? It's actually a very long story, but so, in 2001, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And you might know that's a pretty serious autoimmune disease. And over the years, it just progressively got more and more out of control, chronic flares, never in remission, tons and tons of medications. And then it got to a point where the doctors were saying, you've got so much scar tissue in your colon from all these years of flares and uncontrolled ulcerative colitis. And I think now it's time for us to remove your colon. And so that's the large intestine. And that was my aha moment where I thought to myself, what am I doing with my life? Like, I had for so long played this role of victim, and I never thought for a second that it was within me to heal myself. But when that doctor told me that it was time to remove my colon, I was like, something's got to change here. I've listened to the doctors for long enough. This isn't working. They're not removing my colon. I need to find a solution. And that is really when I began to dive into this rabbit hole of mental wellness and understanding this divine connection between our mind and our body, and how once we understand how our mind works and that beautiful synergy that our mind has with our body, that we are truly capable of healing, whether it's physical healing, whether it's emotional illness, whatever it is, or distress. And so that led me into RTT, which is Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is a hybrid therapy, which is a beautiful relationship between psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy and neuro-linguistic programming. And it just really brought home for me that I was capable of healing. And once I used some of those techniques, and I decided I'm going to study this formally, and here we are. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
And what a journey, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you said that. I think really any healing journey starts with that place of feeling being in victimhood, and then there is a moment that says actually, or hopefully there is a moment that says I don't want to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that is really exciting, and it's interesting that you're saying, right, it was okay as long as the colon was there, but
Yeah.
there was that moment when you said, you know what, really enough is enough. um, well done on that decision. But tell me, so you in your research you found RTT, like you say. Did you have that done for you at that time, or did you have someone not practice, do the session on you first, or how did that go?
Well, what happened is when I was first, so when I was diagnosed and with that outcome that I had to have this surgery, I was like, I have to find a natural way to heal. And that's when I initially, I dove into YouTube, and I started listening to Joe Dispenza and Marissa Peer and Greg Braden and Wayne Dyer. And I just loved what they had to say. I just loved their philosophies. And I'm like, this makes sense. And I loved that it also because a lot of people are skeptical when you go into the mind. People think it's all very airy fairy, but there is a real science behind how the brain works with the body, and unfortunately most of us are not taught that. So we grow up thinking that if we have a problem, we go to the doctor, we're going to take some medicine, and it's probably going to be okay, and if it's not okay, we'll just take some more medicine. But the truth is that it doesn't work. My story is a perfect illustration of that. So when I started listening to all these amazing minds, I just realized that the brain is such a beautiful thing. And so Marissa Peer, who is the creator of Rapid Transformational Therapy, was, as I mentioned, one of the people that I listened to. And I was like, well, I need to backtrack a bit, because 6 months after that diagnosis, when I went back for my follow-up colonoscopy, and the doctor said to me, he's like, so are you ready to, basically get your colon removed after this colonoscopy, which is going to epically fail? Because they couldn't even get the scope through 6 months earlier. That's why they said, we can't do the scope. You probably have cancer in your colon, and it's just better we remove your colon and you'll be cured. And I was like, it doesn't sound like a great way to cure anything. Yeah. And so 6 months later, when I went for that colonoscopy, the doctor was shocked. He's like, I don't know what you did, but keep doing whatever you're doing, So when I had that moment, I was like, wow, I did something that has really shocked the doctors. And I was like, but it's achievable. And that's why I wanted to study rapid transformational therapy and get a qualification so that I could share that knowledge with others. And I think when you've been through something personally, your emotions, your understanding, your empathy, it's very different to just, maybe learning a course and then telling somebody what to do, because you've lived and you've breathed it. So you really have a much deeper understanding of what's going on. And I think you can really be there for your clients. And so, yeah, I just wanted to study the course and be able to just help other people, because I say this to everyone, whoever interviews me, we don't need to suffer, but the way we grow up, we just think that whatever hand we're dealt with, it's just like, yeah, okay, this is my life, and okay, it's not great, but whatever. But there is a better way. We just have to empower ourselves to get to do it, And I think that sometimes we need help. So we need other people like me, people like you, people who live and breathe this stuff, that have this passion to help others. And often, when we're helping others, we're also helping ourselves, because there's nothing more rewarding than, knowing that you're making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But going back to that initial 6 months since they told you they're going to remove the colon, and when you came back, so what is it? What is it that you actually did to change the results?
Okay, so, well, I guess the key thing was, and I think that was a really big moment for me, was when I realized how long I had been blaming my body for my condition. And I would be like, what did I do to deserve this? Oh, my stupid gut, my stupid this, my life sucks. And what I realized when I started understanding that my mind was actually calling all the shots, my ulcerative colitis was simply a symptom of so much unresolved emotion. I grew up in a way where I was a people pleaser, and making my family or making others happy at the expense of my own happiness was something that was a very, very real issue for me. And even to this day, there are times where my natural default setting is to, move my schedule or do something for people I care about. But I realized that on a bigger perspective, that I never did things that made me happy. So my whole life, I was going against what made me happy. And I think my gut was just trying to tell me for so many years, you're not listening to what brings you joy. You're not listening to what brings you happiness. And so I physically manifested this illness as a result of not listening to myself. And I think once I understood that my body had actually been this beautiful tool trying to help me for so many years, and I cried, and I actually sat there apologizing to my gut. I'm like, I'm so sorry. You have been hanging in there for me for so long, and I've never appreciated you, and I've abused you for so long, and I'm really sorry, and I'm going to look after you. I'm not going to lose you. You're going to stick around with me. So back to your question. What I did was I started understanding that I needed to start understanding my emotions a lot better. And that is where RTT helped me. And I had to remove a lot of those blocks and limitations and limiting beliefs that I had within me on such a deep level. But you don't understand these things that we have. We have that, the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, and everyone goes, yeah. But when we really get to these root causes of these belief systems that we have deep within us that are calling all the shots of our lives, not just health, or not just career, or not just relationships, everything. And when we start to understand that, you can make such amazing transformations. So number one was understanding how my mind worked and how I'd been, going against my mind for such a long time in my deeper beliefs. Then, of course, I started understanding nutrition and gut health. And so health and wellness is also something I'm and gut health is something I'm very, very passionate about as well. So understanding my gut health and the microbiome and all of that, and then supplementation, and I did castor oil packs. So once I started understanding the power was within me, I started finding all the resources that I needed. And so it was there was meditation, there was prayer, there was, the RTT, but there was this whole holistic approach, but there was this belief within me that I could change the outcomes. Like the doctor told me, there's nothing you can do. Nothing you do is going to change this. But I was just like, no, I think there is, and I'm going to prove this guy wrong. And it was the greatest moment when the doctor just looked at me so confused.
Yeah. Nice. So at the moment, now you're working with people and you are doing RTT with people. Let's talk a little bit first about what is this RTT, and then I want to talk a little bit more about the mind and mind-body connection.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with RTT first.
Okay. So, like I said, RTT was developed by Marissa Peer, and it is a therapy that combines elements of psychology, elements of cognitive behavioral therapy, elements of neuro-linguistic programming, but in really simplistic terms, and in hypnotherapy, of course. And so what we do is we explore the core issues a person is experiencing, and then we do a regression, and we get to the core belief. So there's a series of steps that we take to get there. Once we get to that core belief, we bring the client to a realization that this belief, is not you now. This belief, you've held this belief for a long time, but this isn't you today. So then we work on what we call a reframe, and then we work on what we call as a transformation. The transformation is essentially a recording that the client receives, which empowers them towards their new ideal self. So that's RTT in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. So is it always that you find a core belief when you come and when you help people heal from chronic conditions?
Well, yeah, that's really essentially it. Like the goal of RTT is always to get to the root cause. We might get there in one session. We might get there in a few sessions. But the beauty of it is that traditional therapy requires you just to see a therapist for maybe weeks, months, years. That's not what RTT is about. And that's what I love, is that within a very short period of time, you can see very rapid changes. Of course, at the end of the day, the client has to also be committed to, because we give them a recording that they must listen to for at least 21 days, at least, because we want to really install those new beliefs. So as long as the client is committed, like, you can see amazing results.
Definitely fascinating. So yeah, do I want to go down that route again on the RTT? I'm just wondering if maybe it makes more sense now to talk about the mind and body. But maybe before that, maybe you can share some examples and success stories that you've had with people that came to you for healing, and what was that like?
Oh, well, I can't think of anyone specifically. I mean, I have clients that come to me for all sorts of different things, and I've helped clients with relationships. That's also been one that's been very rewarding. I had a client that she was going through a very difficult relationship, and she was feeling, and it was actually, that was a really interesting one, because she was a beautiful woman, and she was going through a bad relationship. And when we got down to the core belief, she did not believe she was beautiful, because when she was a child, her parents always compared her to her sister that they thought was stunningly beautiful. And so she had this feeling with her that she was not enough, she was not good enough, she wasn't deserving of a good relationship. And so it was really nice to see her feel so good about herself after the session. I've also seen clients, again, like, because I've had ulcerative colitis, I do have clients who come to see me for that. And so I had a lady from the US come, and I did a session with her online, and that was also really good. I actually keep in touch with her, and just to see how she's going, because she was like someone I connected with. And she's like, I'm doing well, things are going well. So because I do most of my work remotely, I don't get to see people all the time face to face. But yeah, I feel like I make a difference, and they seem to be doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you always know that you've managed to hit that core belief in a session that you do?
Well, after we do a session, we can get a good idea, because of all the steps and all, like, a session usually goes for a good 1.5 to 2 hours. So there's a lot that we unpack in that session. And so during the session, we'll go to different scenes in that person's past. And once I feel like we've hit enough of those scenes, and we've hit enough of those beliefs, and we've gotten to an understanding of why the person is where they are, and they understand why they are the person that they are, and we can break away from that, then that person can really experience tremendous changes. Sometimes, like I said, it doesn't happen all in one session. It can take longer. I had a couple of sessions myself, and in both the sessions, I uncovered different scenes and different scenarios that had impacted me. Like, for example, if I take myself as an example, some of the scenes that I had when I went back into my sessions, like, was like my family teasing me about my weight, or a session. There was times when my brothers, I was always compared to my brothers. I never felt good enough compared to them. Like, there was a lot of different things. But when you share that with somebody the way we are, it doesn't sound like a big deal. But when you're in that session, in that emotional sense, what you hit on really does hit home for that person. And once we get to that core issue for that person, like, for me, I definitely know I used to compare myself to my brothers all the time. My brothers are both engineers, and I come from an Indian background, and I was always of the more creative and artistic person. And so even though I did, well academically, that wasn't where my passions lied. Because I actually wanted to be a singer,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a huge no from my family. So I was always like, no, 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 you can't have no, like, so that no, 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 no. Oh, and the other thing, this was a big one for me, was when I was younger, my parents used to always say to me, you will never be happy. You're just like your grandmother. I heard that message growing up all the time, over and over and over. And eventually I became miserable and happy and sick. And that was my life for such a long period of time. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was a really amazing. And so in the session, like, that was probably the biggest one, that thing that you'll never be happy and you're too sensitive like your grandmother, like you'll never be happy like her. And my poor grandmother, she had died from breast cancer at quite a young age. And she passed away when I was still quite small. So that always used to really, really hurt me, hearing that growing up. But yeah, but now, it's like, you grow up, you mature. I know my parents love me, and but these things have an impact. The words people use have impact on us, and if we choose to let them in, they can have a dramatic impact upon us. And so, yeah, I think the key with RTT is, finding that empowerment. And that's a key part of our transformation, that empowerment. The words that we use, the words that we listen to, the words that we think, they make such a tremendous difference to your life and the outcomes of your life, and what you want to get out of your life.
And I think this brings us very nicely, everything that you just said brings us very nicely to this, the point about the mind body connection. I really like that you said that, because we really don't recognize, we don't know, we have no idea what what stays behind, what is the residue of all sorts of different things. Maybe it's emotional abuse, even, or just repetition of words, or if it's actual stress or trauma, or we never know what it is, but there is so much within us that is impacting. The body can't keep saying, I'll look after it for you, I'll look after it for you. At some point we really do need to start exploring and expressing and stuff like that. So I like what you're saying, that there is always a core belief, and when you explore the events that brought to the core belief, you really see how things are impacting you in a way that you never really imagined. And I know it's very powerful. I remember back in the day I was also thinking about doing RTT certificate, and so I was watching a few demonstrations by Marisa Pia, and I remember there was one about this guy that he actually said, I'm using glasses, but I believe that the it's not structural. I believe it's emotional. And so Marisa Peers took him down this events and stuff, and it was really something about him not wanting to see his parents fighting as a young child, and how it all started from there. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's really interesting for me, of course, for what I do as well, is that people don't recognize how the combination of stress and limiting beliefs and all of this you know everything that we kind of feed our body emotionally, how much impact it actually has on our body. um, and and yeah, I mean, I think if more people understood about the mind body connection, more people will have similar realization like the one that you had, that actually there's got to be something else that you can do. And there is. I mean, I interview people every week with incredible stories of healing, and everyone needs to hear that. Everyone needs to hear that there are examples out there of people that did this without the medication or the surgeries and all of that. um, so tell me, how does that, as you said, after the session, you have the recording that you um, obviously using to rewrite to rewire the brain and the beliefs and stuff, but how do you in the session help a person to understand that this was the core belief, and how is it then being replaced or released?
So within the RTT session, we do these certain, I guess I call them exercises, for lack of a better word, but there's little exercises that we'll do with the client. So once we visit the scenes, we will do like some certain exercises to help nudge the client into that deeper understanding, so that they can grasp that. So basically what I'm trying to say is we get the client to figure it out without actually saying it to them. We use exercises to help them actually word it themselves. It's called like for example, right hand, left hand is like an exercise in there. So we say, so when this is you right now, and these are the scenes, what is the connection you see between them, And then what would be the one phrase? And then they'll usually, in that phrase will usually be that key thing that's been, holding them back. And that's one of the things. Then we will do a bunch of other exercises where we will help the client to let go of that past. And then we do the reframe, where we just basically eradicate all the old beliefs, and then the transformation. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to sort of give you real examples in here in an interview, but it's a very exciting process, and it's always something new and interesting for me as a therapist every time I do a session, because obviously no two sessions will ever be the same. Mm. And it was interesting. Like there was one client I had, and she had ulcerative colitis, and her trigger was having to was actually a boss. Her trigger was a boss that told her that she was rubbish and kind of useless, and like it's always the most random. That's what I'm saying. It's always the most random things but they have impact. Like words have impact. That's why I find it really fascinating.
Yeah. And I guess what we're saying, right, is that sometimes people say, "Oh, it happened when I was, 20." Yeah. And actually what we really know is that it didn't really happen when you were 20. It actually started a long time ago. Yeah. And it was kind of a build-up. And now at 20 it exploded. But that is not the root cause. The root cause is so much earlier than that. And it was just really building on top of everything. Yeah. So at the end of the session, you give people the recording. Do you still give the recording even if there's another session that is needed? So do you always have to wait until the 21 days over? And
we will always give a recording, and then we will review if we need to, and then if another session is required, then we will do a new session, and then you will get a new recording, because you will probably touch on different things and different elements and address different things. So I mean, so that's generally how it would work. Yeah.
Incredible. So what kind of cases, or what kind of people, or kind of problems do you mostly work with?
Well, usually health, stress, anxiety are big as well, and a lot of the time stress and anxiety are also precursors to more chronic illness. So then like some relationships, but my passion lies in the stress, anxiety, and health, those kind of areas. But RTT can be used for practically anything.
Definitely a fascinating method. Great. So tell me, what is one thing that is really important for you that our listeners take away from today's conversation?
I think that's really an easy thing. Is like, your mind is so powerful, so it's really important you know how to use it to its best. And like, if everyone understood how powerful their mind was, I think the world would be a really radically different place in terms of especially in terms of health, in terms of stress and anxiety, in terms of relationships, in terms of whatever it is. Master your mind first, and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, I love this message. What do you say though to people? Maybe in random conversations, maybe by the time people come to you, they already believe or understand a little bit more about all of that. But how do you help people believe in that? I mean, I meet a lot of people that say, yes, the mind body connection. Yes, you can, when you understand the emotions, when you open up the emotions, you can, you can start getting results. But my situation or my illness or my disease is something different. So people find a lot of the time a reason why they are basically different, or why these methods can't work on them. So what would you say to someone like that? How would you help them understand that really there's probably not one thing yet that was invented that couldn't be healed naturally?
That's a really, really interesting question. And I don't know if I'm going to give you the answer you want, but I truly believe that when a person is ready, they will understand. You can tell a person all the right things, and you can give them all the information, but if they're not ready to invest in themselves, and they're not ready to truly make those changes, they won't do it. That's been my experience. Like, I see people all the time, and you probably see it too. Like, there's people all over Facebook complaining about their lives and posting things, but they don't take a single step to change anything, And so even when you're talking to people, their lives are falling apart. You'll offer the olive branch, saying, "Hey, I'm happy to just have a chat. You don't have to see me for a session." But if the block is there and they're not ready, I don't think there's much you can do. I think when you're ready, you'll find the right person.
Yeah, no, I absolutely believe in that. I always say that, I don't very much deal with people down the chain. People come to me when they are ready. So I definitely really believe in that. And I do believe that when people make the decision to explore more, then really they're more ready to really start this healing journey. So really no longer be passive, but actually be more active about their healing.
Yeah.
So that is really fascinating. Farita, thank you so much for coming here today and sharing your story and your wisdom with everyone. Of course, all of your information is going to be in the show notes, and people are welcome to look you up on, find you on social media and so on. Get in touch, ask any questions. And really, anyone listening or watching, you must have heard something here that got you thinking. So, think more, share the message, have the conversation about how you can heal yourself naturally, or how you can help others, or, let's just really bring in these possibilities, because they're endless. Farita, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's really late here now, so I'm going to go off to bed pretty soon.
Thank you for staying up.
All right.